I was just reflecting on this session and thinking, a couple of weeks ago, the minister hosted Eid celebrations at Parliament. And I remember years ago when it happened for the first time. It was such a big deal. Something like that had never happened before. And now it feels so normal and natural to have that in New Zealand. And part of the reason for that is, as the minister and Mervin highlighted earlier, that we are now home to more than 200 ethnicities. We speak more than 160 languages. We are not different from everyone else. We are different like everyone else. And that difference is an incredible superpower for all of us and for our country on the world stage. Our identity and sense of belonging can be an advantage. But like me, I know there are many of you sitting in this room who have days when you think, gosh, this is not an advantage. It feels like a curse today. But here we have three people who have leveraged their identity as a strength, not just for themselves, but through their roles and all the work that they've done for all of us.
I remember going into a dairy once with a Maori friend, and the dairy owner was kind of following me everywhere across the dairy, like watching us through the aisles. And I thought, why are you doing that? I didn't understand, because I was new from Malaysia and didn't understand what was going on. And the Maori friend said to me, I said, what's going on? And he said, well, he's looking at you because you're brown, and he thinks you're going to nick something from the shelves. I thought, what? Seriously? I'm brought up well in my family from Malaysia. Of course, we'd never do such a thing. And it sparked rage in me, Ziena, really. I got really angry. And it took me 2 years to kind of overcome that anger. But you know what I did? I decided I could let that energy, that anger, eat at me, or I could turn it into something constructive. And I'm grateful for the adversity I faced, because I wouldn't be here but for it. And I'm really pleased that most of my career, I channeled that energy to doing something about my experiences so that other people, our kids and their kids, won't face the sort of challenge that I did.
I'd like to hope that the next generation of young people, young ethnic people, can move beyond surviving here and to really thrive in Aotearoa, New Zealand, to do what it is that makes their heart sing, to be able to take bold and courageous sort of choices and to be supported and backed. To do that, and also to really be able to be supported for their, their full identities and selves here.
Different ethnicities, they all fought to open the doors for all that is here today. We were the conscience of the ethnic communities even before, I hope you don't mind, but even before the Office of Ethnic Communities. They stood up because New Zealand gave us that opportunity. And it's such a privilege, the third one, that I'm here today because of all of you all and the work that we do in the communities, right? And the support that we are getting from the Ministry of Ethnic Communities and the minister as well, that we have the First Minister in Cabinet as well.
We want to empower the community, so when we close our doors and go back to our offices or whatever, community can carry on in an empowered way to build the kind of fabric we need to grow Aotearoa New Zealand into a vibrant 21st century country that leads the way for the rest of the world to see. This is how you do it. That's our vision.
I feel very privileged to be able to have opportunities as a Chinese young person, and I often do feel guilty at times around, whether or not, and that's something that I'm actively trying to do more of through multi-ethnic young leaders, sharing a lot of those opportunities wider so more young people from ethnically diverse backgrounds can benefit. Because actually, I do think that there's a real magic about being able to walk between two worlds. And actually, I feel very proud to be a Chinese New Zealander.
I was at an event a few years ago, and a young Vietnamese woman came up to me and she said, Mervin, I'm working in Treasury. I'm an analyst in Treasury. And she said, I never thought of working in the public service. It just didn't occur to me that I could even get a job in an institution like the Treasury of New Zealand. She said, but I saw you, Mervin, making a speech at a community event. And she said, I looked at you and I thought, if you can do it, I can too. And I looked in her eyes and I never forgot that. So every time I feel like, oh gosh, this is too hard, I remember her eyes and it keeps me going. That's the fuel in my tank.
For me, in my profession, innovation comes from diversity. And that is a fact. A Croatian with a very thick Croatian accent was given 15 seconds to start speaking, and he solved a $400,000 problem with just $35,000. That's how this organization that I consulted for benefited from having diversity. We need to trust other ethnicities.
Last question, but perhaps the most important one takeaway, one thing that you want people to do following, today. What might be something that's worked for you that you encourage them to do, or something that you think there's a gap, like Michelle's identified, or just something for our people today to take away?
There's a lot, but just one. Settling in New Zealand can be a challenge, right? But please, with all those challenges that we have in the community, don't take it home and don't let it contribute to family violence.
I'll say beyond surviving.
I'm going to say something a little bit challenging, which is if we want to be included, we have to include other people. And sometimes that is extremely challenging when you've got people from different faiths, different identities and cultures who see the world very differently within this room. I'm not even talking between Māori, Pākehā, ethnic, I'm talking about within ethnic communities. We have to learn how to respect, even if we don't accept other people's view, to respect it and to embrace them. It's hard to do, but it really is worth the journey.
I think what our panel is trying to tell us is that, there's growing, and in some cases perhaps even grudging acceptance that diversity matters, that diversity adds value. So make the most of this opportunity and this time, because Apna time is here. Our time is already here. And it's our time to add value to our organizations, our businesses, our communities.